Hey, Mr. K, how you doing, brother?
Thanks yourself, man.
Fantastic.
You know, I'm sure I speak for many South Africans. You know, we've observed your career from a distance as a, flamboyant dancer who's flying the flag, South African flag around the whole world. But I've never known this philanthropy side of yourself. Can you just unpack it a little bit for us?
As Africans, we grew up in a culture where Ubuntu is part of our upbringing. So I've never really sort of seen that as an extension of myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in a family where, my parents modeled what it was like to give off.
Yes.
My dad was an entrepreneur, so he was all about job creation, and growing up with that as an example, I've always known that I needed to play my role in society and that, my life couldn't just be about me.
Our initiative is Daring to Dream, and we're here today to meet the kids and try and inspire them to dream.
We are basically here to ensure that little kids at that young age begin to start dreaming and that they see the world as this big, amazing place where they can imagine things, they can sing, they can dance, and they can just be kids.
You've got Dare to Green, Dare to Read, and Dare to Dream. Why are you daring people so much?
Because I suppose, growing up, we grew up in families where it's almost as if your dreams are never validated, because you grew up in a society where you're told to sort of, follow the mainstream and to sort of be a teacher or a lawyer or, to take an official form. And I think I realized that it really took daring to be able to really to live my best life. And that inspired me in part to really realize how important it was that we all get to dare to live our best lives and to be ourselves.
Sure.
That it's not as given as it seems, that it takes a lot of daring, actually.
Did that ability to want to push forward come from you personally, or did your parents have a big part to play in you daring to dream?
I think my dad particularly had played some role in as far as encouraging me, but I was born with, a certain degree of stubbornness, as I'd like to call it, very much like...
Stubbornness is good.
Absolutely. In a good way, I suppose. So if I put my mind to something, I usually want to follow through. And I knew from a very young age that I was drawn towards the arts and towards storytelling, and, that I wanted to work around people, that I was not really that guy that wants to sit behind a machine.
Yes. Me and you know that it's important to give back, and I'm sure there's many people who are listening to us talk now who want to give back, but come across challenges. What kind of challenges have you encountered?
Oh my goodness, where do I even begin? Where do I begin? The challenges are so enormous, but the soil is just as fertile. The beauty about the times we live in is that we live in a time where we've got platforms where we have people that are willing to listen because the work has to be done. I mean, I come from a community in Hammanskraal in Pretoria, in Tshwane, where, young people don't have resources, so when we talk about arts centers where young kids' education can be supported with arts programs and arts education, we don't have those sort of facilities. And when I look at, some of the challenges that face a lot of young people around townships across South Africa, I realize that many of it are grounded in access, access to really engage in programming, access to resources, access to facilities, I mean, we run a program in Hammanskraal where we teach little girls ballet. And to even find a space to do that is a challenge. So I would say the biggest challenge I have is not so much tapping into the wealth of youth that are willing to, access the arts education programs and, to follow in that path, but resources. We still have a long way to go in as far as ensuring that the right resources go to the right places.
Paul, looking at you, I can see that you've encountered many challenges. But what is that thing that helps you push through and helps you maintain that sense of purpose?
Nothing changes unless we change, unless we actually do something actively about it. And I'm not about sitting here and complaining about what's wrong and what's broken. I really understand that my time on this planet should at least be spent resolving some of these challenges, So if I grew up in a community where I realized that there weren't as facilities, what am I doing to make sure that when I leave this planet, that issue is at least ticked off that list? So yeah, I believe we can all play our part in our own little spaces. For me, it's in the art space, and for someone else, it could be in agriculture.
Obviously, with projects like Dare to Dream, Dare to Green, and Dare to Read, is something that you've done in the past, but it's ongoing. Tell us more about your African tour.
The Breaking Down Borders Africa Tour, which is actually the reason why we gathered here today. You know, it basically is an initiative whereby we are responding to the need from the continent. As a young artist, you know, within this beautiful continent of ours, I've had access, you know, to be exposed to young people in the continent. And after so many years of getting, you know, inboxes and whatnot from young people saying, look, we love what you do. How do we begin to really engage? You know, how do we begin to really connect? You know, then we were really inspired to sort of take the work that we do with Dare to Dream in South Africa beyond the borders. You know, there is an understanding that the only way Africa is going to progress is not in isolation, but like as a collective. So Breaking Down Borders is about that. It's about daring young people to say, you know what you're looking for in Zimbabwe might just be here in South Africa, you know, and vice versa. How do we connect as young people? How do we begin to really work towards the Africa that we want to see?
What is your message to boys and girls bakokasi about the importance of playing your part in your community?
When we look around ourselves, sometimes there are challenges that sometimes seem insurmountable. You know, they seem bigger than us. But the truth of the matter is that, you know, it takes one person to really change the world.
Sure.
And if as young people we can realize the fact that, you know, we can start where we are with the little that we have, and we can create great impact and great change in the world, we'll be well on our way. I think when you look at some of the greatest leaders that have inspired us in the world, the likes of your Nelson Mandela and your Martin Luther King, these are leaders that didn't always have, you know, the right structures and support, and yet they used what they had. And sometimes what you're going to have is just your heart for something, or your mind, or views over something, or your voice even, you know?
Sure.
So I believe we can all, in our own little corners, play our part, and we can really start small with the little that we have and really bring about big change.